I have 23 slides here that will go estimating. When you guys are done with this chapter, there are questions at the end of the chapter. These are going to be your homework. And how am I going to be testing you guys in this chapter, by the way? The test will be from the question at the end of the book. I have the answer for them. When you guys do them, I'll give you the answer so you can check yourself, because I don't have time to check all of you. But the test, you're going to have one test on this. The test number 4 will be in the 6 chapters in this book, and the test will be from the question at the end of every chapter. I don't want to make it too complicated. Basically, literally the same question. Cool? Everybody just give you an idea what we're going to be doing? Okay, estimating. The first chapter talk about estimating, guys. There's a few things, and feel free to agree or disagree with the author here. This is for my quotes. So estimating. The purpose of electrical contractors. Why are we in business as electrical contractors? And a lot of us, these are judgmental. You're going to agree and disagree. I always, I have a word that I use over the years with my students. I said, we're not sharing and caring hands. We are in the electrical business to make money, right? We do sharing and caring hands in our churches and place of worship, but we are in this business to make a living and make money, right? Anybody disagree with that one? Otherwise, you go work for a church. So these are a few things that we're going to be going over. Why many electrical contractors are unsuccessful based on Michael's opinion, and feel free to agree or disagree with his opinion. The chapters are short, guys, really nice short. Why estimation is required to create a project budget. I mean, if you don't have a budget for any project, you don't know if you're making money or losing money, right? And I like what Nick, you were telling me about how you do all these Excel sheets to keep track of if you can't keep track of your expenses and have a budget to gauge your expenses to where your budget, you don't know what you're doing. You can't make decisions. Are we losing or are we winning? A couple of things that we want to how contractor success is impacted by management and productivity and overhead and risk. It's all about, guys, when you work in electrical industry, Phil, it's all about getting the job done on time, on budget, and making money for you and your company. It really is. If you can't do that, you're not going to be a successful project manager. Remember, we're talking about project management from a project management point of view. Constant change in the electrical industry. If every time the National Electric Code comes and you start effing the NFPA because they created more problems for you, that's not a good trait for a project manager. Project managers, guys, are adaptable to change, and Chris, change is painful. I'm not going to tell you, change is very painful. Every 3 years, we have to go through at least 20% of this document to see what the heck have changed, so we don't make mistakes in our projects. So if you are a person that like constant in your life and you don't like to change a lot, you might find it hard to be a successful project manager. And when I talk about project manager, guys, I am a project manager here at Dunwoody. We're talking about people who are managing $2, $3, $4, $5, $25 million projects, electrically speaking. We're not talking about managing, if you're a company like we are, CA Electric, our jobs, we bid up to $10,000, $15,000 jobs. That's our limit. We don't bid on anything higher than $10,000 to $15,000. That's a small shop. That's not what the project management that we're talking about. We're talking about millions of dollars, electrically speaking, millions of dollars of bidding on a job. So changes in the market, embrace the changes, rationale. Okay, so let me go directly into the rationale. Receive prices, but not. And I feel free to agree or disagree with this one, guys. Is the best job are given to the people who do a good service, but not the lowest price. I don't know how much that holds right now, Chris, in this market. But I tell you, when we worked in hospitals, and I didn't do it from a contractor point of view, from an engineering point of view, you have to qualify to come in our bidding on the bid list. You have to qualify. So to qualify, why do you think we need a qualification? You don't want to need an electrical contractor, electrical contractor that he or she can pull halfway through the project and file bankruptcy, right? That's the worst thing that could happen to you as a project manager. Halfway through the project, the electrical contractor look at their paper and they say, we're $500,000 in the hole, so let's file bankruptcy and pull out of this project. So that's the last thing you want to happen. So, but necessarily not the lowest. That's keep in mind. You're going to hear the word. So when you work for electrical contractor, Elliott, Hunt, Egan, all these major electrical contractors, in the back of your mind, you need to provide a quality service for your customers at a competitive price. If your quality service actually is going to be 3 times as expensive as your competitors, people are willing to pay maybe 25% extra, 50% extra, but they're not willing to, a lot of us are not willing to pay 3, 4 times to get quality work. I mean, there's a point where you have to balance between quality and the price for that quality. So quality work at a competitive price, that's what you need your company to do. Not the lowest job, not the lowest bid. What's estimating versus bidding? All the stuff that I'm telling you guys is right in that little chapter that you have. Estimating versus bidding, two things, at least based on the book that we're using. The whole estimating bidding process is divided based on this book. You'll find other books, not a big deal, but first component is estimation, determine the cost of the job. So what is estimating? How much is going to cost you the job? What's bidding? How much are you willing to sell it to the customers, right? How much? So if I have a project and my project is going to cost me labor and material and overhead and burden and benefit for the electricians and also paying the salary of the secretary as an overhead working there and gas and everything, that's all my cost put together. It's going to cost me $10,000. That's how much it's going to cost me. Then Oladipo, I have a decision to make. Do I want to sell the project to the customer for $10,000 and break even? That's called break even. You have not made a single penny, but it's misleading though. If you're a project manager and you paid yourself from the project and you paid all your overhead, the gas, the everything, you paid it from that project, all the overhead, all the electricians with their burden, with their benefits are paid from that project, and you paid yourself because you're the project manager. That's called break even. You didn't make the company a single penny that they can reinvest in the company or pay the stakeholders of that company if it's publicly shared or only shared. So breaking even is not a bad word, guys. A lot of people, especially in this market, they're happy to break even and pay all the expenses and float, just floating. Now, what bidding is, what you hope is, when your price is $10,000, what you're hoping is you can sell it to the customer for $12,000. So you take the first 10, divide it between all the people who are working on the project and pay the electricity and everything and the gas and trucks and all this stuff, and you have $2,000 in the bank. Where do these $2,000 in the bank go for? Anybody knows? The owner of the company, the owner or owners of the company, usually, or it could be bonuses for you as a project manager at Elliott. They can give you at the end of the year a bonus out of these profit that they did. Or a lot of companies, when they're small guys, they take the $2,000 and reinvest them directly into the company. So we buy a new truck, future investment in this company. Pay their debt, if they have a debt, if they acquire the debt for the company. So that's basically the estimating versus bidding. Estimating how much it's going to cost you, bidding how much are you willing to sell it to the owner. Any comments, any questions? And these are common sense as you guys walk through them. A lot of stuff, terminology maybe, but the rest is common sense. So what is the difference between estimating and bidding? One word, profit. Is that bad word? The profit. The profit, how much profit I made out of this project. Zero profit, it's okay. That's called floating break even. So profit is the difference between them. Okay, moving on. So we know what bidding is and estimating is, right? For the most part. And Chris, feel free to agree or disagree. Just terminology that they're using. Now, good estimating system. If you have a good now we're going to start with estimating. You always start with estimating because that's how much it's going to cost you. You guys cannot bid a project if you don't have an estimate for it. You can't do a bidding before the estimate, because you don't know how to bid it. You can't add a 10% profit for yourself unless you know 10% of what? 10 grand, 100 grand, 10 million grand. Okay, good estimating system should help you. If you have a good estimating system, we're going to look at the estimating system that they use in the industry, the most common ones. Quickly and accurately determine the cost of the job, including the anticipated cost. So if you're sitting in the back of your truck and you're doing estimating on a piece of paper, is this quickly? And then halfway through the owner change You can do this one, guys, for a $5, $10, $15,000 jobs probably. You can do them in the back of your truck. $10,000, no problem. We have done these residential. There are electrical contractors can walk into a location, especially service calls or whatever. They can look at yep, $5,000. We have done it many times. Service calls. You walk into a service, I always use changing a 60 amp fuse panel into a 100 amp panel. That's little work for residential. Okay, here's the mask. We're going to change the wires, all this stuff. $1,500, labor and material. So that's a lot, and I'm throwing these numbers. That's a lot of contractors did it. Why do they know it? Because they've done it over and over and over again. Now, I don't know about you, unless you are Parson or Hunt or Egan or Elliott or any of these big contractors, guys, you can't walk into an engineering firm and say, this hospital that you guys are building, 150,000 square foot hospital is going to cost you $2 million. Do you feel comfortable doing that? How many people feel comfortable doing that? It's $2.5 million. Mark my words. And then, okay, we got it now. We got the bid for $1.5 million for this hospital. To be able to do this, and next quarter we invite Parsons guys, Dave Karski, come here and talk to you about estimating. People like Dave and Jack Elliott and people who do all the estimating for living, they can do that. They can tell you, based on the square foot of the building, a hospital, they can give you a rough estimate, and they are within 5 to 10% of what the actual. Why? They have done it for 35 years. And they keep track of their jobs that they estimate, the actual cost of the job, and they develop a historic data that they can tap into to make future decisions. That's where your ultimate goal to be, is how are you going to accumulate this knowledge to build a historic data that you can use to launch your future estimate and your future figuring out right on the spot. But even though they can give you a number, they always, a good estimator guys always go after they give you a rough estimate. They like to go back to the office and do the detailed estimation. What they call it. That's what the detailed estimation is, the one that your company is going to be liable for when you put your bid in the job. Okay, so that's quickly and accurately. The system must be efficient, accurate, and attempt to prevent common mistakes. Don't even think about writing things on a piece of paper if you're doing, if your company size is $1 million or more, or even $100,000 or more. If the size of your company job is $100,000 or more, you need to find some way. The least efficient way of doing things, guys, is Excel, right? Excel is the least expensive way of getting things quick and fast is an Excel sheet. That's the least, right? Excel comes with Microsoft Project. Accurate, attempt to prevent common mistakes. Efficient, fast, accurate. Your math is not doing it with a calculator and push 2 buttons like Chad. How many times I missed a zero, guys, when I'm doing calculation for you? Imagine if you're doing estimating on that. 1 0 can make a difference between you getting the job or not, or if you got the job, you make a profit or you go down the hole. Okay, it should have a method to verify that the estimate is accurate. After you did it fast and accurate, you have to have a close the loop. Closing the loop is you have to be able to compare apple to apple and say, when you do an estimate, Nick, my friend, and you give it to your supervisor, hopefully he's not going to go spend another week looking at your estimate. Hopefully within a couple of hours, the system has a method of looking at comparing apple to apple. One method is, take this, square foot method. So you did an estimating, Phil, great, beautiful, and you did all the detailed estimation like you're going to see we're going to do, and then at the end you end up with a $25 per square foot for this hospital. You give it to Jack Elliott or whoever the electrical contractor there, your project manager. He look at $25 per square foot, and he compare it to the historic data that they accumulated over the last 10, 20, 30 years, and every hospital that they were part of was bidding for $15 an hour, and your hospital this year is $25. Don't you think that's a big flag? That's one way of closing the loop, having a method of verifying. And the project managers must have a method, because they can't go do your work for you, go step by step. They look at the big picture. The big picture, square foot, is a good big picture. Or they look at the labor, the percentage of labor in this project. For example, every project that we did, the percentage of the labor was 65% of the overall price of the project. This year, you end up with 80, right? Or 20. Don't you think a project manager will have a flag and say, okay, what are we missing here? It's not like you did something wrong. They'll pull you to the office and say, oh, explain to me, how did you come up with 20% labor when every job that we bid is 65% labor? So these are methods of verifying that your job, that you did not miss anything. Any comments, questions? Any comments, any questions? How, my friend? So keep these in the back of your mind, guys, as you go through. Objective and purpose of electrical contractors. Why are we in business? Why are we in business? To make profit. We are in business to make profit. Here's the key word. We're not sharing and caring hands, though we're all good good people and we like to share and care with others, right? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not too capitalist as the other hand, I go closer to tree hugger than capitalism. But also, when we are running a business, we are in the business of making money. You keep this in your mind, Oladipo, because you walk into a place and they tell you you're going to spend. They start adding things to you, and you feel sorry for them. You start doing it, but keep in mind you can feel sorry for a lot of people. But bottom line, when you're there, you're representing the company. You need to make a money. If you want to volunteer for this old lady and fix her furnace for free, that will be on the weekend through your church or worship place, right? So I always say, when you're at the job, you're there to make money for your company, you know. So that's profit. We're here to make a living. Must provide. Okay, here's what I want to highlight, guys. If you are successful electrical contractors and you are in the millions of dollars type contractor, you need to provide quality service to your customers at a competitive price that is greater than your cost. That's it. Bottom line, if you have a quality work, every time I hire Ashley's company, their work is sloppy, that magnetic starters don't work. Sorry, Ashley, I'm going to pick on you guys. And so do you think, even if they were the cheapest, do you think I'm going to hire them again? Or they don't show up, they promise to finish the job within a week and stretch it to 3 weeks. Do you think that quality work? Do you think that's quality work? You need to provide a quality work at a competitive price. And that competitive price hopefully and must be greater than your cost. Because if it's not greater than your cost, you are down the drain. You're going down the drain. Any comments, guys, about this one? If I want you to take one word, Phil, my friend, out of the whole deal, if you take that little quality, competitive, and greater than your cost. So that's really what the bottom line. Quality work, competitive with the others, higher than your cost. Then you become hopefully a successful contractor. And again, we're not talking about a $5,000 guy, a guy who goes fix a couple of receptacles in the basement. That's also quality. Don't misunderstand me, but we're talking about big picture hospitals, sports arenas, bigger buildings, and so forth. Any comments, Phil, my friend? Does it make sense? It's a lot of common sense. A lot of common sense. Why are some electrical contractors unsuccessful? This is an opinion, and feel free to agree or disagree with it. Some of it for a small electrical contractor is right, because most of the electrical contractors came from the trenches. They are apprentices, journeymen, right? And they started as an apprentice. They got their journeyman license. They start wiring. Then they got their master. They created the business, and most of them have no idea what managing a project is. They never done project management. So they're great at doing the work, but they're not great at managing the work. And the people like this, guys, it's dangerous, because you become a project manager. When you estimate the project, if you don't have project management skills, you go estimate the project based on what you can do. Yourself can do the job. But do you think when you hire Oladipo is going to be as motivated as you are for your own work? Of course not. So a lot of people, guys, estimate, if it takes me 5 hours to do this job, if I hire Chris as an owner of a company, Chris will do it in 5 hours. That's mistake number one. Chris is not the owner of the company. It's not the owner of the company. And multiply these 5 hours for bigger jobs, and you can end up in the hole so fast. So lack of project management skills. That doesn't mean you're doomed. You just have to, one method I always say, when you bid the job, don't bid it based on what you as a master electrician can do it, who own the business. I'm motivated, man. I work like a horse. And because bottom line, the more money I make, the more the money goes to work. My bank account, I'm the owner of the company. I hire you as motivated as you could be. I don't think you're going to be as motivated as I am, right? It's just human being nature. And multiply this by 100 electricians and see the difference that you're going to have. So you're going to take into consideration people's motivation, and people are not, no matter what, how much you pay them, they're not going to be as motivated as owning your own company. So lack of experience, plenty of hands-on skills, lack of experience. Any comments? Anybody disagree with that? Anybody disagree with that? Okay. Estimate must provide information for project management. So why do we do the estimate? Why do we do the estimate? Two reasons for doing any estimate: to prepare the bid so we can get the job. That's the kind of that goes without discussion. If we don't have an estimate, we can't provide a bid. We can't get the job. Now we provided a bid. We got the job. After we get the job, your estimate, and Kristen, you agree with me, should help you manage the job. Manage the job. So actual cost of any project is significantly impacted by how well the job is managed. So information for the project. So when you do the estimate, you're going to provide it. Feed this information directly to the project manager. When you guys did the schedule, what did we do? We have 2 crews of 3 electricians, right? And they're working simultaneously, the 2 crews at different locations. Now a project management, if you did an estimating, it will tell you the labor that you need for every stage of your project, as well as the material. How many runs of 1000, of how many runs of 10-foot EMT conduit, 3/4 of an inch you need for this stage of the project. It gives you the material that needed for every stage and the labor. And that's great. Then I can manage the project, not just manage the overall project. I manage the project stage by stage, step by step, phase per phase. And that's what the project manager is supposed to help you. So properly manage a job, the project manager must have a job budget. When you do the estimation good, you give it to the project manager. The outcome is having for the project manager to have a job budget. I have $5 million labor and material to finish this stage of the project. Not just the overall, guys. You need a stage, phase. So I have a 10-story building. When I finish story number 1, the budget for story number 1 is going to be $500,000. Out of the $500,000, it's going to be, let's say, $250 labor and $250 material. So as I reach floor number 1, when I finish that one, I can gauge myself. Have I spent all the money? Do I still have money? Am I on track? Should I switch track? And the reason for this, and you can agree with me, because the worst thing that could happen is at the end of the project, you were blind all the way through the project, and at the end you find you are $500,000 in the hole. Can you do anything about it when you're done? There's nothing you can do about it. You need to get the information fast on the track for every stage so you can readjust your path so you end up with break even at least or profit. But if you get all this information at the end, it's worthless. You need it step by step, stage by stage, phase per phase. That's where project management schedule can help you track of your labor. At this point to this month, I should have spent $200,000 on labor and $150,000 on material. Am I there? If not, why? And what can I do about it to correct it? There could be a good reason. Maybe there is a good reason. Then we speed up or slow down or readjust. I have contractors come over here, guys. They keep track of this. I have one contractor without mentioning names, low voltage contractor. He said he keep track of his low voltage stuff. And around Christmas, he goes to the electricians the technicians who work for them. If they are ahead a day or two, he will tell them, take these 2 days off today. And it's on us. Go Christmas shopping. We have money on the project, go Christmas shopping. Well, what motivation can you get for anyone other than giving him right around the holidays 2 days to go shopping and enjoy their life? Imagine when they come back. I mean, most of us, when you see that the employers are vested into you, they get back, wouldn't you? Versus a guy who is looking, watching you with a gun and try to catch you. So these are different motivation of getting people, guys, to do the best thing for you, and ultimately you win, Phil, and they win. We have electrical contractors for bigger electrical contractors as managers, when they do a major project, profit on a project, they buy them a truck. What is a $35,000, $40,000 truck for a project that you made $2 million or $1 million profit? Really? What is the $35,000 in a scheme of $1 million? So that's where, and again, that's the big picture. The job budget must have information as to the material. When you have a budget, you have a material that you need, and when do you need it, when it's required, and the labor for every phase. Very important. Budget is not just $10 million to do the job. I need how many people for every stage, and how much, and what's the material, and how much is going to cost me for every stage of the project. Now, if your project is finishing a basement of somebody's house, that's a simple project, really. One stage, labor, material, rough in, right? One electrician with an apprentice, rough it in, and then wait for a month or two, or maybe a month to sheetrock and paint and go devise it, and done. If you're doing a hospital, you agree with me, there's stages. You're going to put the slab when they come and dig the hole, breaking the ground, they call it. They break the ground, make a big hole in the ground. Your electricians have to be there. Why do you think we are there when they dig a big hole in the ground? We have to provide electricity for them, number one, right? We have to, we 99% of the time, we provide temporary power for them, for all the trades. And number two, we do grounding and bonding. That's right at the slab. When they start putting the concrete, we come and we put grounding and bonding, and if it's well organized, we put all our conduits underground, the services, everything. They dig the trenches, and they even some in major projects, we pull our feeders to different locations right under the slab. So there's a lot of coordination in major projects. Any question, comments? Any comments, any questions, guys? Does it make sense? No? Job management ultimately controls the cost of the project. So the difference between a loss and a profit here, and I'm going to do my friend draw up here, management is the difference between a profit or a loss. The last thing you want to do is you have 10 electricians sitting. Each one of them is paid union ones. They're paying $55 an hour. And they sit in the corner, talk about hunting season, duck hunting or deer hunting for an hour. Because your bad management skills put all these 10 electricians in one corner, and the mechanical contractor is working there. So you, as a project manager, electrical and the mechanical, are fighting over there who's going to have this space today to put their wire, whatever, while 10 electricians are talking about their hunting, duck hunting and deer hunting, or bar fights or so forth. That's bad management, don't you think so? Coordination between other disciplines, major part of project management. That's why they have that weekly, daily meetings, guys, for all these disciplines. Weekly meetings for the project, make sure who's doing when, where, and what. And Oladipo, with all the respect for all of us electrical guys, I want to keep reminding you, we're only, what's our percentage from this big pie of construction? 10 to 15%. So you think, Dustin, my friend, you're going to jump into a project and act like a big owner of this project when your percentage is only 10 to 15%, construction and design. You have to know your size. So whatever you do, keep in mind that another, what would that give me? Another 85 to 90%. That will leave 85 to 90% of the project is what? Other disciplines, other contractors, right? We don't build the building. We put electrical system in the building. So just keep this in mind as you become a project manager, guys, as you coordinate with other disciplines. Just because your electricians are sitting talking about the bar fight doesn't mean the mechanical contractor will give you the space. You know what I mean? There's coordination and negotiation and agreement and so forth. Any question, guys? So project management. Yes, sir.
What part of the piping is the architect's take? I'm sure it depends. Is it between the contractors and architects?
There's the construction pie and the design and the architectural pie. If you take overall the pie of the overall, probably the architects, if I want to throw a number, no more than 15% either, because there's other yeah. What do you think? There's a lot of contractors and general contractors, and most of the disciplines, guys, not just us, most of the disciplines is with the engineers. Their pie part is end up being 10 to 15%. We're not just mechanical contractors are like us. So different contractors have different. That's what adds up to 100%. It's yeah, it has
Several different.
yeah, different. You have mechanical contractors, electrical contractors. You have the building contractors, the block, then you have the finishing contractor. You have multiple contractors. When you add 10 to 15% for each one of them, you end up with probably 10 contractors working on the project. You end up with 100%, more or less. But just I like this little pie to keep us on keep things in perspective. So management is the difference between loss and profit. Effective planning, labor scheduling, and material. All factors in determining the ultimate cost of the project. Effective planning. We just talked about coordination between other disciplines. Labor scheduling. Don't put more electricians in one site than you need. You need one electrician, you put one electrician. If you put another electrician, you're wasting money. Most of the high-profile jobs in our state, guys, for the most part, are unionized jobs. We're paying, I think 55 right now is, or probably even 60 if I remember. I think it's 62 or something for a journeyman electrician. That's with benefit. So it's going to cost you every time you put with benefits and dues for the union and all this good stuff. It's going to cost you $62 or so. So you're going to be very careful. I mean, you want to keep them busy, but at the same time, you don't want to put too many people who are not doing a whole lot. Material purchasing, the worst thing that could happen to you, send somebody first to a project and there's nothing to do there because pipe is not there. And today, guys, when Werner Electric comes, please highlight this one. This is very important. Material purchasing. A good relationship with Werner Electric or Viking or Graybar would get you a project manager there that can get you the material on time for your electricians to do the job. Right? Ultimately, isn't that what we're doing? We need to go there, find the material in front of us, our tools are with us, and do the job, do it on time, quality work, and get out of there. Any questions, comments, my friends? So that's factors of project management. Okay, can I be competitive? Yes. If you are to be a competitive, guys, again, you need to offer the customer quality service at a reasonable price. The key word, quality service at a reasonable price. Every contractor that you talk to, guys, they tell you they hire us most of the time not because of our price, because they like us, they can depend on us. They're electrical contractors, they give their phone number to the companies. And in the middle of the night, a switch gear goes down, call me, call us, and we will be there for you. We have a maintenance agreement with you. We can send you as many electricians as you want. We can bring you online as fast as you can to reduce your losses if you're a company or whatever. So that's a big deal. Electrical company must control the job costs, so they are within. So to do this, you always have to control the job costs, always. So you can get everything within budget, So it always starts, guys, with the estimation. You have your labor and material that will create your budget, and then you start with your feeding the estimate directly into the project management, assigning labor and material for every phase of the project, and keeping track of that labor and material for every phase. And of course, not just labor and material. We forget that as a project manager, guys, or a foreman, you walk in and you see a sloppy job right there in the corner. Would you think you want the owner to go discover that you guys did the sloppy job there before you do it? Is that quality work? They send you to a place and you're working around mechanical contract and you make a big hole in the mechanical duct. Well, that wouldn't make, if you do that in one of my engineering projects that I'm managing as an engineer, you wouldn't be called twice, and you don't own up to it, Nick. You made a mistake, you're going to own up to it, you're going to fix it, pay for it. Now, you don't own up to it, guess what's going to happen next time? Your name will be dropped from the list of the people who can bid on this project. You're not reliable. Nobody wants to work with you. Does that make sense? No? More or less? Zach, my friend? Okay, budgets. Critical to control the overhead. Overhead is a big deal, guys, for a lot of companies. That's the people who don't carry the tools. You don't carry the tools, you want to minimize your time. You don't carry the tools. That's overhead. Unless you carry the tools, for the most part, you're an overhead. So reduce the overhead, keep the minimum, other factors, blah, blah, blah.
Can you just explain, and I hear the word overhead a lot, but can you go into the definition just real quick?
Overhead, we're going to go through the whole deal, but for the most part, in the electrical scheme of things, people whose time is not billed directly to our project is overhead. In the electrical scheme of things, really the non-overhead people are the people who are carrying the tools around them and working in the field. Sometimes that's it in an electrical contractor. Those are the guys carrying the tools and working. Those are your labor. That's not your overhead. Anybody who manage the labor is considered an overhead. To manage the labor as a project manager, you could be, for the most part, you're going to be an overhead. Also, the people who are working in the office, ordering things and doing things for you and answering the phone and all those guys are overhead too. How about the light that's going to come because you work in an office? So your project that you're managing has to pay for also the utilities in the building, overhead. So anything that's not carrying tools in the field is an overhead. Go to the engineering firm now. There's different definition. If you're working in an engineering firm, you are an overhead if you're not working on a project. For example, Mishad Kul Erickson, when you go to your, most of the engineering firms, as you go there, you log your time weekly, right? You have the weekly sheet and you assign it to what? You assign it directly to a project. If you're not working on a project, you become an overhead. If you don't have a project for you assigned, and that day you don't have anything for you to do, and you're doing research in the office, what we did at Elevator Beckett, if you don't have research for you, you build the overhead, and of course that you don't want to be there for long. I mean, you got to find you something. You can't sit there overhead. The people who manage you, who are not working on a project, manage you, they have two options in engineering firms. Either they put their time directly to the project also as project managers, billable time, or they become an overhead, depending on the company. Most of what we did at Elevator is even the project managers were when they're working on designing when I talk design, all the designers, the drafters, the engineers who are working on it, their time is not overhead, it's billable time, as well as the project manager who directly managing the project. But the secretaries and everybody else and the utilities, that's where your overhead is. I'm sorry, Jackson.
You basically answered it. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's great, because there were kind of some fuzzy lines for me.
Yeah.
At least, understanding.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
As an engineer in an engineering firm, if you are working on a project, you're not an overhead. If you're managing a project directly, you're not an overhead. If you are overall managing multiple projects, your time usually in the engineering firm, they divide it between all these projects. Nobody wants to be overhead, believe it, in an engineering firm. In a contracting business, you're on overhead for the most part unless you carry the tools. Even though sometimes they assign a project managers as non-overhead, that's part of the project.
You kind of feel like a bird in the company, because you just.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you need
you're
overhead
from-
though.
from- the money's coming from.
But look at the word here. You will need to control your overhead. You can't find. It doesn't mean eliminate. You have to have an overhead. You have to have people working in the office answering the phone. You pay your utilities and all this stuff. You need to minimize it. The same thing with labor. It's not just that we're not picking on overhead guys. Labor. You can't have 10 electricians if you need 8. Right? So if you need, do I need 8 or 10? That's where a project manager become a big deal. Okay. Other factors that can affect, guys, your competitiveness in this market. Competition, things that can make you successful or not. Who's competing against you? You have a hospital. How many people can bid on a hospital out of, by the way, in the state of Minnesota, there is close to 3,700 electrical contractors. 100. I know that was estimate 2-3 years ago. I know probably there is 20% of them no longer in business. But 3,700 electrical contractors. You think the 3,700 electrical contractor in the state of Minnesota can bid on a hospital? I hope not. You probably statewide, of course there's nationwide too, statewide you're looking at probably at 7, maybe 8 contractors who can bid on a hospital. That's it. So know who's bidding against you. Consider the number of contractors who are bidding against the job. The least amount, the more chances that you're going to get the job. Take this. If Elliot is bidding on a basement, Chad Curdy's basement, finishing it, you're going to be competing with 3,700 contractors. Well, okay, maybe not 37, but at least 1,000 contractors in the area. Versus if you're bidding in a hospital, you're against what? 8. Your chances are higher to get that job. Okay, make it a point of know who your competitors are. Consider the number of contractors bidding to the job. It's really nice. The first thing we do, guys, especially in Minnesota, we all know you're going to end up knowing all the major players in the electrical industry when you move in. You know, you talk about Hunt, Egan, Elliott, contracting. There's who am I missing? Hunt, Egan, and Parsons, and a bunch of other contractors. And a few of them are starting to buy each other lately because of the economy. Cost of material. Also, make sure suppliers offer different prices for different contractors. Simple rule of thumb is shop around, check your prices, pay your bills on time, and take advantage of discount. When Werner Electric comes today, guys, that's where you're going to develop relationship with those guys, wholesalers. Wholesalers can make your life easier. They give you a 2% discount on something. That's a 2% towards your profit. That went towards your profit. If you are borrowing money and you have to pay an interest of 3%, that's 3% away from your profit, right? So shop around. I hate to use the word shop around, guys. Most of the time, Ashley, the major contractor, they have a great relationship with 1 or 2 vendors, and they really like them. They know each other. You know the project manager. I can depend on them. For example, Zach, I screwed up as a project manager, and I ordered a switch gear that's 3,000 amp, and I needed a 4,000 amp switch gear. Take this mistake, my mistake. You order the material. Now, if I don't have a good contractor, a good relationship with a wholesaler, vendor, manufacturer, guys, I'm screwed as a company. If I have a good relationship and I'm not gotcha type, and I develop that good relationship, they might be able to absorb it, take it back, and get you what you want. And I'm not talking 4,000 to 3,000 is a big, but we do all the time. We order a magnetic starter, we end up the wrong size. You have a good relationship with the vendor, then no problem. We'll pick it up, we'll get you the new one. Isn't that worth something? Don't you think worth something? You covered my back. Isn't that worth something to you? Instead of gotcha now, I'm going to screw you up and charge you twice. And that's what you're going to do with your customers. Customers make a mistake. If you want to gain the respect, not now got you on, instead change orders, I want to start screwing you up. You're going to get some money, of course, for your change, but make sure you make the customers feel that you didn't take advantage of it. You're not taking advantage of it. Okay, let me close that one here. No. Oh, yes. What am I? Okay. Any question, guys, about the cost of material? Shopping around. The last one is experience. This is really my favorite. More experience you are in your employees, the fewer mistakes that you can make. So gain experience, hire people with experience, right? If you want to bid on a gas station and not a single one in your area have experience in hazardous location, well, really interesting to hire somebody with that experience to add it to your company. More experience, training. If you're electrician, especially guys, if you're electrician not trained with 2011 code, and now they don't know that there's certain changes that cost you money. All the mistakes can cost you some money. Labor cost and productivity. This is my favorite. Is pay when you have electricians. Ultimately, guys, you need journeymen. You need journeymen on the job. Those are guys, the most skilled people will be doing your work for you. So you pay them. The key point is if you expect the code, if you pay top dollars for your electricians, and you can get highly skilled, motivated, educated, trained electricians. That's what you want. In the state of Minnesota, for union shop, guys, we have but we don't have control on the labor because the labor comes through the hall, right? 292 or 110. And the hall provide all the training for them with the feedback from NECA. There is a NECA and IBW. They have these beautiful JATC agreement between the two of them. They sit together, they make the agreement, and they send the apprentices and the journeymen for a lot of training for free almost. That's a great way of training your electricians. Get well-trained. You're well-trained, no problem. Highly skilled and well-trained, no problem. How about motivated? How about simple things, guys? Very simple thing. We're human beings. Simple thing. You walk into your project manager, you walk into a job, and one day you tell all the electricians, your lunch is on me today. Simple thing. What a lunch on average costs $6. You have 10 electricians, okay, $7. Seven when you buy on average. 7 times 10, $70. For you as a project manager to have their attention, to help them, motivate them a little bit with a stupid lunch. What is a stupid lunch in the scheme of a big thing? Simple things that can get you to get the people to be motivated to do the best that they can do. I always say, I don't know about you, Phil, but there's 100 ways of doing things and screwing it up without screwing it up. You know what I mean? So motivate people. Give. To motivate people, you have to give. You can't just motivate them by doing things. Parson and Hunt and all those guys, you know what they do, guys? They have open house night, and they have food and party and all this stuff, and they invite all the electricians and the vendors to their companies. That's one way of motivating. We have a lunch and you have drink and all this good stuff, room around. So motivate the people who work for you, educate them, train them, and then if you do that, you're going to get skilled. You're going to have a labor with a high productivity. You do the opposite, here's what's going to happen: violation in the law, increased supervision. If your people are not motivated, you're going to have more project managers chasing them because they keep hiding in that big construction site, right? So I can't agree with this more, guys. Pay people like they deserve, treat them really good, educate them and train them. The first thing should come to you, Tom, my friend. If you walk around and somebody you watch they're doing something wrong, and instead of criticizing them, maybe you should send them to training. Does that make sense? Now, at one point, if you keep training him and training him and training him, and they're not doing the same mistake, what do? You send them to the hall and you bring another one. It reaches a point where you have to draw a line in the sand. But you see something repetitive wrong, you have to try to action as motivate, educate, and train. Any question, guys, about this? Any question? Okay, so that management skills. Manage the job according to the estimate. You're likely to make the profit if you manage it according to the estimate. So that's why we started with our manage the job based on your estimate. Your estimate is how much it's going to cost you. Then you add the profit. Am I going to add a 5% profit this time? When I know my estimate is 10K, this job is a 10K. In this market, if your electricians are sitting on the bench, guys, and your company is slow, and you paid all your salaries, everything else, maybe I can reduce this one to 2.5% and just to get the job to keep the system moving, float your company. There's nothing wrong with running at zero profit to keep flushing your system, as long as you pay the project managers and the overhead. Overhead is part of your cost. Remember, overhead is part of your cost. When I say cost, it's the labor and the overhead. So everything is paid. The gas, the trucks, and everything is paid. But you had $0 went to the bank account of the company that you can get for Christmas and bonuses and so forth. That's okay, but your salary was paid. You're paid $60,000 or $70,000 as a project manager, or $90,000. Is that wrong? Nothing wrong with that, right? To float. Any question, guys? Comments? Overhead. A couple of things about overhead. Look at that. Cost of overhead, cost of managing the labor, 20% all the way to 40% of contractor total. Now, if you're a smaller contractor like CA Electric, you know what the overhead is? Your overhead is you sit in your back truck. That's your office and your basement. So your overhead, you're heating your house. What's your overhead? Zero. You're heating your house. Okay, you can't live in a house without heated. Your truck, you have to have a truck vehicle to go somewhere else. So your overhead is minimum. The gas basically is overhead. And a couple of calls, your phones, that will become your overhead, right? You have to call more often for customers. A couple of paperwork, licensure for you have to license your company and pay insurance and all this. That's part of your overhead. If you are a Parson Electric or Hunt, there's building that you built, own, or operate that have to be paid all these utilities, marketing, advertisement, you name it. So your overhead is going to be much, much bigger. So from a smaller contractor, your overhead can be 1% of your job. Gosh, it goes all the way probably to 30% for major contractors. Um, any question, guys? So the idea is you have to minimum your overhead, but at the same time, you need to be able to do business. You have to be able to conduct business. You can't. The best thing is to make your overhead zero. Shut down your building, right, and go home. Your overhead is zero, but you can't do that. You cannot do that. Selling the job at your price. Again, that we talked about this one, guys. You don't have to always get a low price. You have to have an offer, excellent service at a reasonable price. You're going to get the job, but not always the lowest low price. Low price without a service, you wouldn't be called again. Nobody will call you again. Or you're a jerk. Imagine somebody hire somebody walk into your house and yelling and yakking and effing in your basement, regardless of you use the F word or not. We all use it. You walk into my house with my kids and you're doing work in my basement service call and you're effing, I wouldn't call you again. I have 3 kids, right? You're going to act professionally. Do you want, I don't know, most of us, I ask this question, do you want me to come to your house and start effing in front of your little kids? So these are the things where the quality service, guys, low price, it doesn't matter if it's a low price. You have to have some good service. A lot of people will pay a good price if they have a good service. A lot of us. You'll find the cheaper people who will pay anything, guys, but remember, we're talking about millions of dollars here. So people who build millions of dollars, they don't go for the cheapest. Any questions, guys, about this? Comments? Common sense, huh? Market. Electrical industry, constant change. So what you need to do? Developing market, dying market, like the residential is dying. Now, if you're doing just residential right now as electrical contractor, you're not busy. Diversify your knowledge. If you know how to do commercial, if you know how to do commercial, you're good. If you're a contractor who has a branch into the low voltage, that could get you some business. How about medium voltage? You're a contractor and you develop some skills in the medium voltage and training. That could diversify your portfolio, like as always, and get you a job. At a time, okay, technology, economy, and customers. So there's a lot of changes, factors, technology, guys. They come up with a lot of unique things to cut on your labor. Make sure you're always at the top of it. Material. There's certain things that get invented every day that makes your life easier and your electricians easier, more productive. You have to be at the top of it. Changes in the code, the national, the state codes. You have to be at the top of it. And a lot of people are, guys, there's a lot of seminars about renewable energy and so forth. They send their contractors to. Local market. Considered, and this is also my favorite, considered every estimate request as an opportunity to monitor the market. So you might not get the job, but you did the estimating. You are best off because you lost the job, but guess what? Use it as a tool of sensing where the market is heading. More people are building hospitals. Maybe I should concentrate my focus as a company on this area. So monitor the market. So that's about it. Any question, guys? You can ask yourself all these questions in this chapter. A lot of them are common sense. If you want to be a project manager, it's a great idea, guys, to keep track of these. If you are going to be a designer, just a productive, very productive person, which is, and technically, not a big deal. Any question? So you go through that. I have, when you guys are done, please, here's your questions, essays, and multiple choices. All the questions are due, all of them. So the same thing, I encourage you all to do all the questions this time for one reason. Anybody knows why? The test will be from these questions. So I want you guys all to do them. They're very simple. Most of them are one word question. So please do them. Any question, guys? Before I switch to the second, I'll give you a break and switch to the second chapter. Huh?
When will we begin?
That would be in 2-3 weeks from now. Yeah. Okay. All right, 5 minutes break. Sorry. go over. It's 28 slides, and then I'm going to go over them, and I'll let you guys read the book. Please do read these chapters. They're easy. I think they're easy to read. The questions at the end are straightforward. Some of them are opinionated, but they're good nevertheless. About estimating. A couple of things that we need to know about estimating, guys, after you do that. The quality of a good estimator. As we go through this, gauge yourself against all these qualities that they have in this book, guys. Obviously, these are not the ultimate qualities that you should have, but they are good qualities to acquire if you're going to be an estimator. Duties and responsibility of an estimator. What's your duties and as an estimator and your responsibilities? How to properly set up the estimating workspace and the tools that you need. Space and tools to do a great estimating. What do you need? The different type of estimating methods. This is a big deal. Different type of estimating methods. Accurate estimate must include. What do you need? What are the different methods of estimating? What is your estimate should include to be accurate? Advantages and disadvantages of manual estimating, computer estimating, and estimating service. These are three ways of estimating. You have the manual one, do it in the back of your truck. The estimating, the computer one, Excel or an estimating software, or estimating service. We'll talk about what is the difference between estimating service and estimating computer. Any question, guys? These are the main objective of this lesson. Okay, let's talk about the quality of a good estimator. I want you guys to look at these and ask yourself, am I one of these? Willingness to learn. Every time there's something change, are you a person who likes to learn all the time? They call them learners. Or are you a guy who just likes to go hunt and fish and enjoy life? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that one, and you really hate reading books and codes and all this good stuff. And manuals, right? There's a lot of us who know life is too short, and there's nothing, no judgmental, guys. Life is too short. I don't want to spend it like Chad Kearney reading the code. Right? And it doesn't have to be, the answer, it doesn't have to be yes or no. I'm an engineer, guys. I like percentages. What percentage of you is willingness to learn? Are you 100% willingness to learn? 80%? I always say if you are 70% of these, you're good. 70% willing to learn. Okay, that's good, depending on the topic and if it's related to your field. Okay, second one, good knowledge of construction and ability to visualize electrical requirements. When you come to me, Aladipo, later on when you do the estimating, I'm going to tell you we're going to drop from the ceiling 4 feet to reach the top of the panel. Are you with me? You follow that when you're moving, you move in the ceiling. When we have 2Ds, we're looking at a third dimension. Can you visualize that when I come over here, I have to drop 4 feet to hit the panel, so I have to add the 4 feet to the estimating? Right? Does that make sense? Visualize the construction. Do you understand what's behind these walls? Do you understand? That's why, as an estimator, guys, and even as an electrician, it's great. We need to know how do they build the walls? If I want to drill a hole right through this wall, is this a load-bearing wall, or is it partition? Can I drill through it? Don't you think that's important for a project manager? Imagine, take this. If I have 12 runs of 4-inch EMT conduits, and I want to take them point A to point B, don't you think I should map my way through? Because I could have gone right through a duct, right through a load-bearing wall or column that I have to avoid, and it's going to cost me an arm and leg to maneuver around it. So the construction, the ability to visualize the electrical requirement is unparalleled. Look at this, orderly mind and tendency to be careful, accurate, and neat. Are you? I mean, sometimes you walk into your boss's office and say, how on earth, happened to me a couple of them, how on earth do you know how to manage things with all this all over? Some people they know how to manage things. Others, they have to function in an organized, neat manner. My judgment, and judge or not, Chris, in my own opinion, I believe if you're neat, organized, you can do things at least 25% faster and more accurate than if you are not. And that's my own judgment. I can't supplement it with any data other than my own personal experience. So, are you orderly minded, or you have shooting off the hip? right? That's a good. A lot of people are good at doing that. So these are a couple of things, guys. Look at this. An open mind willing to change and take advantage of new products and new technology, or you just love MC cable and you're not willing to change to any other wiring methods that God created because you've been using it and it works good, and why should I switch? Or are you willing to give new products a shot and see if it works or not? Does that make sense? Is that common sense, Rob, or not? Common sense. I like it when I go through them, I gauge myself. I said, what's the percentage of me is these? Am I 70% willing to change and open-minded, or 90%, or 0%? My way or the highway? That's a 0%, right? Okay. Decisiveness and the ability to make decisions and not to be intimidated by details. Let me tell you this one, and I go to grave. Take this one to grave. My personal opinion, not being able to make a decision is worse than making the wrong decision. You agree with me, Chris? 100%. Not being able to make a decision is worse than making the wrong decision. Because if you didn't make a decision, you don't know that everybody's at hold, right? So you can't make a decision, everybody's waiting for you, then you have to wait and wait and wait and wait, and guess what? After you wait, you still could have been made the wrong decision anyway, and then you have to wait more to correct it. So unreal. The ability, decisiveness, and the ability to make decisions, not to be intimidated by details. I had, I'm not going to mention names, guys, and this is a true story. I had one of my students 3 years ago, came back to me, and he quit his job as a project manager. And he said, Chad, every Monday morning, I don't sleep over the weekend because I regret Monday morning meetings between all the disciplines, and they're bombarding me with all these answers, and I can't make a decision. And he's working as a project manager in major contractor. And he said, I just am overwhelmed. It's killing me. It's killing my life. I'm thinking over the weekend, what am I going to be doing on Mondays? And he quit his job, completely quit the job as a project manager. I do not want to make major decisions. I just don't want. So that not every one of us, guys, being able to, make the decision fast within the circumstances that you have, and based on all the facts that you have, not the facts that you wish to have. Any question about decisiveness? So you have to have some type of decisiveness, fairness, honesty, and integrity. Nobody likes to work with cheaters. I don't know about you guys. Do you? Do you like to work with cheaters? I'm telling you, as an engineer, you cheat me one time on one of my projects, you wouldn't be on the project again. Done. Your integrity, you tell me, Ashley, that your company is going to come and do the job on time. Okay, I understand one time maybe there is a circumstances. The second time, maybe third time, you're not on the project again. So these are where fairness, honestly, cheating, integrity, your word means a lot, guys. I had people from Parson here. They went and they gave a word to an engineering firm that they're going to be doing the job based on their estimates. And they went back to the office. They discovered they are big chunk of money in the hole. And guess what? They gave their word to the owner and the architects and the engineers. And they did the job for the same amount, and they ate that chunk of cash that they made a mistake. That's integrity. That your word means a lot of things. People like that, right, Chris? Like that you are a man of your word or a woman of your word. So you don't run away from your commitments. Knowledge of electrical codes and the ability to read blueprints. If you're a project manager, I always hear all the time, Rob, they say, well, why should I know the NDC code book? I'm a project manager. I'm not an installer. You are managing people who use a Bible that's called the National Electric Code. Wouldn't you think when you correct them, you should read the same Bible? Because all of us are agreeing on that Bible. So when they come to you and they say, we can't do this because the code tells us so. Well, wouldn't you think that you should understand, or are they saying it right? Are they trying to get away with certain things? So, and reading blueprints, obviously, if you go to be a project manager without being able to see a receptacle and recognize it, not just a blueprint, guys, electrical, mechanical blueprints. It's really nice to educate yourself to reading all blueprints. Distinguish between different type of walls based on the blueprint. Is this a concrete wall, block wall? Is it sheetrock wall? So if I poke right through it, Do I need, what type of equipment do I need? Can I make a big hole 4 inch through that wall, or can't I? So these are major things, guys, to keep it in mind. Patience. Tell that to Chad Kurdi. Patience. You have to be patient. You must be able to finish the estimate without losing your cool. Patience. Rob, you were showing, Phil, you were showing me all these sheets after sheets after sheets that you're developing for your project manager or the estimators. You gotta be patient. It drives you nuts. There's so many details. As an estimator, not all of us can be estimator, guys. It's a lot of details, and it drives you nuts. And you wish you could stand there and scream and do a couple of F's in the office, but you can't. So being patient is unreal. Procedures and the ability to follow them. Do you know how to follow procedures? Chris, it's common sense. You can't believe how many people do not know how to follow procedures. You cannot believe it, even in a day-to-day life. Now, if you can't follow procedures, you're not a good raw material for a project manager or an estimator. You really can't. You got to follow methodical way of procedures. You have to be. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself and the people who work with you nuts. So these are a couple of things, guys, to keep in mind for list of quality of estimators. I always ask the students, to yourself, don't share it with me, give yourself a percentage at each one of them, add all your percentages, divide them by their number, percentage, like from 0 to 100, each one of them. And then add them all up and divide them by their number. And if you scored 70%, you are a raw material for a good estimator project manager. And be very honest with yourself. Does that make sense? All these, give them a percentage, add the percentages, divide them by their number, the number of the qualities. If you get scored 70 or higher, you are a good raw material for a project manager. Less than 70, continue doing drafting and which there's nothing wrong with that. Drafting or wiring or whatever you need to do. Duties and responsibility of an estimator. It changes. This is what says, guys, it changes from one company to another, but here's the common denominator between them. Determine the cost of the job. The reason, Tao, that you work for Hunt Electric as an estimator is because of the bottom line. They want you to find the cost of the job so they can bid the job, get it, make money, finish the job, and move on to the next job, right? That's the main job. It's cost of the job. How much is it going to cost me? And what do we call this? The estimate. That's my estimate. The second reason, now if I want to give percentage fail-wise, I would give cost of the job. I would give it 70% of your job is to find cost of the job, right? Second thing is purchasing the material. Now we find the cost of the job, we put it in a proposal, we submit it to the owner, we got the job, now we're going to buy the material. Who's better than the estimator / project manager to buy the material, guys? You know it inside out. So you could be as an estimator involved in managing the same project. You could be, you don't have to. And purchasing the material. You know that material inside out. You know the switch gear, the light, the type of fixture, the type of wiring, the gear that you're using. But you don't have to. It could be you ordering the material or you feeding this into the project manager.
Is purchasing agent a big issue with large? I mean, every large firm I ever worked with has
They have purchasing agent.
It's a whole skill. What's your experience with the electric industry?
I really personally, I've never worked with a contractor as a contractor on major projects. But what I see is the project manager will order the material. I'm sure they have some type of.
And what size?
Yeah, because the problem is a purchasing agent for companies, they do it for in-house, buy stuff in, but electrical contractors, they buy the material for out. Right? The purchasing that you buy is not internally, is all for projects. So every project manager buy the material not to be set in the office or it goes directly into the job. So a lot of project managers are directly involved in purchasing the material because what you buy, I might not use as another project manager. It goes directly to my job. But that's my experience. I don't know. Do you guys have a purchasing agent, Elliot? Yeah, so one person buy everything, share it with everybody. So the project manager give it to the purchasing agent. Okay, so it organize the process and make it more systematic, make it more.
Well, it's also kind of a publicity issue, auditing integrity issue.
Okay,
One person
I see what you mean.
buying, you can keep track of
Okay.
what's going on. 'Cause there are things that can fall off the truck if you have too many people.
Yeah.
purchasing.
Okay.
You never heard of that.
Absolutely. So that then systemize the process and maintain the integrity of the people who are working on it too. So things don't randomly disappear. Ensuring the bid accuracy. That's definitely the estimator's job. How do you want to make sure that your $10 million bid is actually accurate to the best of your ability? You have to have a method of checking the accuracy of your bid. Project management tracking. As an estimator, you could be estimator project manager, and then you have to manage the project and keep track of your labor and material, right? Now we got the job, now we're in the field, stage one, phase one, I have my electricians and I have my material. Who's better than an estimator slash project manager to keep track of all this material? As you said, things can walk away from the job. Cover is very expensive, right? You put a bunch of cover in one location, more than what you need for this stage. Things could walk away from that area. Any comments, guys? Questions? Common sense? No? Okay, the estimate workspace and tools. Okay, so now we got what the estimator can do. Before you estimate, you need first job, you need to have the proper workspace and tools. If you're estimating a $1,000 job, no problem. Go sit at McDonald's and do the estimating with a piece of paper. $5,000, no problem. But now $5 million, don't you think we have to have a space and some appropriate tools to do that? So that common sense. Your workspace must be sufficient. If you're working in a place, sufficient, illuminated, located so that you will not be disturbed. You can agree or disagree with that, but at least well illuminated in an area. If you're doing estimating, you don't want people, guys, to be walking into your office in and out and count 1, 2, 3, and oops, the phone rings and you forgot where you were. And so that you have to have a really, it's a lot of people who do estimating, guys, they can tell you it's a lot of work to keep track of things. You don't want to be disturbed. Improper tools will take longer to complete the job, so you make sure that you have the proper tools. Calculator that works. A lot of people don't even use a calculator, guys. You do the count, the stuff, and immediately feed them into the software. So you need to be able to have tools that works, pencil that works. Good estimating tools cut down on the human error, increase efficiency, pay for themselves very quickly. Any tool that you can find. The wheel, Phil, that you had, that wheel that measure instead of using the ruler. Absolutely, that's great. The wheel, measure the distances with a tiny little wheel here. Feed it directly into the system. Counters, as you count them and click, you count them. That cuts on your human error. Another thing is there are softwares right now that tie directly into the CAD. Some companies are pulling all the design information directly from CAD and Revit into estimating software. As you throw a receptacle, that receptacle can immediately connect to the estimating software. As you design the project, the estimate keep accumulating. So that's or you can pull the information directly from CAD. Can you imagine the amount of work that you can cut if you don't have to even count? So there's a lot of softwares that you can interface with estimating softwares to pull the information. Okay, estimate have the following. Here's a list, and here's a list of things. Common sense. I'm not going to go through all of them, guys. Bookcases, adding machines, calculators, chairs, computer, estimating software. You would hope you have an estimating software if you're a major contractor. Internet and email. I worked one time, guys, for a company. If you work for a company that don't have email and internet, is it worth even working in this day and age? Are you kidding me? Which information age are you in? You want to research a switch gear. What do you do right now? Yesterday we talked about the ring circuit. What did you do, Phil? You immediately Google, right? Did you use Google? Google and get the picture of a ring circuit. Great. Switch, you see something that you're not familiar with. What do you do? The best thing? Google it. So, internet access, spreadsheets, and all these counters, desks. Hopefully you're sitting on a desk. So these are a couple of things. There is another list of other things. Digital plan wheel, digital wheel, and counters. Filing cabinet, lights, magnifying glass for the old people like Chad, so I can see things, especially the smaller notes. Okay, so these are a bunch of things. Phone, so you can call people. Any question, guys? So these are must-have things, all or some, at least to do a good job. Any comments? Common sense? Don't you think it's a common sense as an estimator to have? What I like about this, guys, if you're starting to be an estimator, these are things to keep as a checklist. Maybe if I want to build an office so I can do my estimating, here's a list of things. Maybe all or some of them should be in your office. Does it make sense, Chris? No? Some, and you can agree with some, disagree with others. I mean, it doesn't have to be all or not. So, okay. Moving on from the tools that you need into the types of bids. This is very important. Very important. Bid number one. You need competitive bid. This is the most common one, guys. Competitive bid. I have Elliott, and I have Hunt and Parsons, and they compete on the same job that engineered by Michelle Poole Erickson, architectured by LRB Beckett, and the owner with LRB Beckett and the engineers get together. They put the blueprints. They send them to the electrical contractors, and all these 4, 5, 6 guys can bid on this project. And the lowest one will mostly get the job most of the time, but not necessarily. Mostly will get the job. So that's competitive. You're gonna, and most of the time, guys, to maintain the integrity. Thank you, Chris. To maintain the integrity of the people, what do? The bid opening day. They have a bid opening day. So no playing around. And Jackson is married to my sister, and I'm going to allow him to get the job. So they have a bid opening day where they open the bid in front of all the contractors, and that's kind of the D-Day where people are just standing there and say, "Oh Lord, am I going to have a heart attack today?" Yes, sir.
Let's say you put in a bid that you think it's a good price, and then you get there and you find out you're considerably lower than all the other bidders. Are you locked into that bid? Can they say, even if, because like I'm sure there's an engineering bid also that you compare your bid to.
That's part of your integrity.
It's also a bid bond issue. Almost anything of any significance requires you to submit a check, like $5,000.
Yeah, you're gonna lose. You can lose things.
You can pull it and they take your $5,000.
Yeah, there's bid. Yeah, there's the bonds that you have to do. You can pull out of any bid. The more than losing $5,000, you're gonna lose your integrity. Yeah, yeah, math error. Yeah, but you really is. So you pull out of it, then the next in line will get the job. The next in line, you can pull on it, you will lose. But I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna shoot you for the first time. But if it's a habit that every time you bid on a job and you pull out of it, nobody wants to work with you anymore. So competitive bid. The second one is design build. Design build, guys. Elliott and Hunt and Parson, they have a lot of. Hunt is doing a lot of design build. They have their own engineer, registered engineers. They with contractors. They go to a general contractor, get the job from a general contractor, owner or architect, and they design it in-house, and they design it in the house, and they build it. So the advantage of design build, anybody can tell me the advantage of design build, guys? Everything is in-house, so change between the coordination between engineers and electricians in the field is very fast, hopefully, and nobody can blame the other. So I can't blame Michelle Poole for designing it, because we design it in-house. We're building it fast. Make things tend to move faster for the design build, done by the contractors only. Engineers don't do design build because they don't have crews to build it. So it's electrical contractors will do the design build. A lot of Hunt and Parson guys, they hire registered engineers, and they basically have their own engineering department. Tower, aren't you part of that now? The design group? Yeah. Yeah, they have a whole department right from the company that do all the design for them. So as if they have an engineering firm in-house. Really, you have an engineering firm in-house. You design it and you bid it. So when you approach it, how do you approach you for design build, guys? The owner of a company with an architect mostly, they approach you and they say, multiple companies they approach, you get the best, and they approach you to design and build this building for us. So of course you have to negotiate and come up with it. So there's no bidding basically, for the most part. But there's a lot of interviews to get the job, a lot of contacts, a lot of things involved in it. Yeah. So you design it, you build it. Negotiated work is like the design build. You are the owner of a building. You come to me as CE Electric and you say, we're going to negotiate how much it's going to cost us to build this building for us, to build it, to do the construction. We come up with some negotiation. because your budget is low and I need work, and so we come up with a certain number, and we lock ourselves to it. A lot of people filled with these, they say no more than, we guarantee you, we start working, but no more than $1 million. The cap is $1 million, but it could be less than that, but we're going to cap at $1 million, guarantee you. So the owner has in their mind, Chris, right? They have a cap, so they can't, they know at least the worst scenario they can cover it. And it's really nice at the end when you cap it at $1 million. If you finish it with $1.5 million, you got the attention of the owner. You'll be the next in line next time for negotiation. So negotiated work, time and material. Time and material, fixed fees, guys. This is for services. A lot of services done time and material. You walk in, you work, you keep track of your time and your material. Your hour will be billed for this company at $110 an hour, and plus the material, and they have markup sometimes in the material to add a little bit for handling fees and so forth. A lot of sometimes services are done this way unless you have a service contract with them. Service calls is time and material. But you can't build a hospital time and material, definitely. Any comments, guys, about this? Comments? Unit price. Unit price is really interesting. So Ashley is a developer, and she wants to develop 25 units, residential units. Each one of them is 2,500 square foot. Typical. And they come and they said, well, to go to the electrical contractors. Their general contractor is going to bid it. Then the electrical contractors are going to bid it from the general, right? Then they would say they bid it as a unit. How much as a unit, as a house, you're going to charge us? $10,000. So each one of these, on average, we're going to do it for 10 grand. 10 times 25, that'll get you $250,000 to do the electrical work of these houses. Unit price. A good unit price, guys, is also services. When you change your service, going from a 600 amp residential, 600 amp to 100 amp panel, unit price for as many. I'm going to go to that neighborhood in Richfield and change all of them. I'm going to give you a unit price of $1,500, labor and material. Any comments about this? Unit price. Most of the work, guys, is done competitive work really, as well as design build, and some is negotiated. Unit price is a good part of it. I guess could be negotiated too. Okay, any question about these 4 or 5? So for the most part, my friends, you are either here or the bid or negotiated, for the most part. These are sometimes under certain circumstances, but competitive design negotiated. And for competitive bid, tell my friend, you have to qualify to bid on the project, on major project. It's not just open for anybody else. And you have to have a bond. If you want to bid on a $1 million job, you have to have a bond of certain amount. Sometimes the minimum bond in the state is $25,000. That's minimum bond for electrical contractor. But you have to, for projects, they require you sometimes to have a bond of 100. Yeah, a bid bond. 5% of that particular piece has to be a bid bond. So 5% of $10,000 is different than 5% of $100,000. So if you can't afford or $10 million. So what are accurate estimates must include? If you have an accurate estimates, what do you need to include? Labor cost including burden, right? If you have a good estimate, you have to have how much is it? $55 an hour plus benefits, right? For the electricians. That's a minimum. Number 2, material cost including fixtures and switch gears. Ashley, why do you think the fixtures and the switch gears are out of the cost of material? Fixtures are very expensive, guys. I can put a fixture, $88 fixture here, or I can put $150 or $300 fixture. In any place, fixtures are very expensive and they vary. So they move them as coat. They coat them separately. The same thing for switch gear. Switch gear is all the panels and the transformers and UPSs and the major electrical equipment for you. These are expensive items. We don't take them. We put them in a coat and we get quotes. 3 vendors will provide, or 4 vendors will provide 4 quotes for these major electrical equipment. Sales tax. Do you think what's the sales tax in Minnesota? 7.5 or more now in Hennepin County. So you need to apply the sales, especially on the material. We don't tax labor in Minnesota. We tax the No, it's coming soon, huh? We tax the material. Subcontractor and rental expenses. So Zach, my friend, if the low voltage is part of your bid and you don't want to do it, you're going to hire it to a subcontractor. Wouldn't you think we have to know how much we're going to pay? 10 grand for the fire alarm system contractor, 5 grand for the security. Add it. And rental expensive. Are you going to rent a trailer, rent equipments, trenchers to trench? Have to be added to the bid. Direct job expenses. Direct job expenses, guys, are similar to permits. You need to add permits, fees, city fees to do certain things, and they explain them. Overhead, that's very important. Now, don't you need an overhead for your company? 10%, 12%, 3%, 4% overhead for your company. So you need to add your overhead. And then determine the bid price, always include, and bottom line, when we did the overhead, and then up to this point, we're break even. With no problem. We're not making a single penny. So for the owner to buy a truck or go to Hawaii, I need to add a profit, right? That's where the owner gets his paycheck at the end from your profit, unless the owner is a project manager of a company. But if the owner is an owner, just sitting there and businessman, doesn't work, then that's where you get to, right? We're going to pay for them. When I say it doesn't work, doesn't mean they don't directly involved in the actual work. They get the business. Okay, improper estimating methods based on Mr. Holtz. Here's the improper estimating methods. Ignoring the specification. Anybody ever seen a specification? These are the 4-inch big binder that you have, electrical and mechanical. Ignoring them because it's too much work, intimidated by details. Remember, intimidated by details can get you in trouble so fast. You know what they do? Some electrical contractors, guys, what they do, because the document is so big, they get them in Word documents and they run search words. So they go to the mechanical contract. The electrical, you must understand them. The mechanical contractor bid, because they're related to electrical, they run word search, transformer, electrical connections. They run it on the specification of the bid specification, the mechanical, and every time it hits a page that has the word motors, for example, they go and kind of scan through it to make sure, is there anything electrical contractor should know about this piece of equipment? So don't ignore specification. Meeting the lowest bid. Oladipo and I are cheap, and every time I bid on a job, Oladipo see I'm 1,000, he goes 500. Bottom line, you can't stay in business like this for long. So you don't want to be and shot in the dark. That's my favorite. Walk in and say, oh, that hospital is $25 million. That can get you out of business so fast. Don't you agree with me, guys? But shot in the dark for, a lot of people guys can do that because based on experience. But shot in the dark, I have contractors, guys, they say shot in the dark is good if you don't want the job. So if I am busy and you ask me to come and meet with you to give you an estimate, rough estimate for this type of project, and I'm really busy, don't want to do it, I give you a number. If you accept it, no matter what, I'm making money. And if you don't accept it, I don't care because I'm too busy. But you don't want to manage your company like this, though. Reputation and integrity, remember. Square foot method, ballpark price. They say that it's inappropriate, guys, the square foot method, though a lot of people use it. If you don't use the square foot method as an proper estimating method, at least you can use it as an accuracy analysis, right? After you do your analysis, you use the square foot. Okay, if every house that we did, guys, was $7 per square foot for every residential house that we did, and this one is 10, what's wrong? What changed? Cover went up, labor went down, went up. So it's good checking mechanism, not a good estimating mechanism. And you can argue with this. Okay, proper estimating methods. Let's look at the proper ones. Time and material. Time and material. Keep track of your time. Keep track of your material. That's proper, don't you think so? Unit price. You have done this type of job, and every time it's going to cost you $25,000. So you keep track of that $25,000. Detailed method. This is where you're going to be. This is where most of the electrical contractors are right here. Detailed method. You guys are going to be doing with Chad detailed method 3 times. One for this project, one for next project, or the project after. That's when you take the blueprint and start counting components and measuring distances, plugging them into a sheet, an Excel sheet now, to software next time, and it adds up the labor and material based on the equipment that you installed. Then you add taxes, you add overhead, you add profit, markups on the material, and you come up with a single number. That will be your bidding number. That's the most comprehensive way of doing it, the most accurate, and the most effective when it comes to project management, because now you have a detailed information about your project. How many runs, how many sets of 3/4 of an inch, 10-foot 3/4 of an inch conduits you need. You know everything about your project before you even get the project. So it'll help you a lot managing and tracking the project as well. Okay. So these are the time and material unit price. As I said, the most common one is you're going to be doing is the detailed method. Questions? Any questions, Rob, my friend? Now, if you're working with an engineering firm, it's really not a whole lot. This is FYI only, and if you don't want to be working for a project manager. Now, I want you to wake up if you're sleeping. These 9 steps, you're going to use them, guys, this quarter, next quarter, and the quarter after. 9 steps of, it's called detailed methods, using 9 steps of estimating and bidding. Please highlight this one if you don't want to. So estimating, so I have 6 steps of estimating and 3 steps of bidding. Okay, can you guys highlight that one? This is who's going to be doing estimating for the project presentation. So these are what you're going to be following step by step for me in the presentation, basically, step by step. The process detailed 6 steps of estimating. We know what estimating is, the cost. Bidding is selling it to the owner. 3, 6 for a total of 9 steps. Feel free to agree and disagree with them. You can group them in 8. But these are 9 steps that we're going to go over. Number 1, understand the scope of work. 9 steps. 6 of them are estimating. Understand the scope of work. Now, actually, you cannot take off a project if you don't understand it. If you see a UPS system on the building and you have no clue what the UPS system is, you cannot estimate this project. Right? Understanding the scope of work. What's supposed to be done? Is it hazardous location, hospital? So all the details. So understand the scope of work, complete scope of work. To understand the scope of work, guys, which is step number 1, is what do you need to do? Go through all the blueprints, even if it's 100 blueprints, as well as all the electrical specification, and check all the mechanical specification for any electrical interface. And look at the rest of them. I guess it's just FYI, the type of the construction, the location. There's a lot of things involved in the project. So understand the scope of work. How about the scope of work if we're working for the Pentagon? Do you think the access there is going to be like working for Chad Security's basement? So you're going to know when can you access the places. That's going to add to your bottom line, right? It's going to affect your bottom line. Okay, so understand the scope of work. We understand everything related to the project, where the project is located, mainly the blueprints and specification, where the project is going to be located, the utilities, the access to that place. Can I get in? Can I get out? Step number 2, takeoff. What's takeoff? Counting the electrical components, as in receptacles and switches, and measuring the distances for feeders and branch circuits and services. That's it. Counting the receptacles and the switches, right? And measuring the distances, which is branch circuits and feeders and services. Any question, guys, about the takeoff? They call it takeoff. Any question about the takeoff? So what do you need to do there? You need a blueprint. You need to do all that one through the blueprint and specification. And to do this one, Aladibo, you need to visualize the system. If you want to measure the distance from here, me to you, in 2Ds, you're going to understand you have to go up or under wherever you are, right? So you have to take into consideration the third D, the third dimension that's not shown in 2Ds, visualizing the installation. You can't just go straight up in the air and put the pipe right between you and I. You have to go over, up, over, down again to reach the equipment. Visualizing the installation. Questions? Step 2. Let's go to step 3. Any question about step 3? 2? Okay, step 3. Determine the bill of material. After you take off all the equipment, right? All the equipments have been taken off. What do you need? You add them up. So I now know I need 100 GFCI 120 20 amp tamper-proof receptacles. Then you go price them, and you got the price for the material. Does that make sense? So that's what determining the bill of material. Why it's the bill of material is important, guys. Number one, you can assign a dollar to it, and now you got the dollars for your material, and you can send it with your purchasing agent. You can send it to a vendor and buy the material and get discount for it because of volume discount. Okay, so determining the bill of material. If you have a computer, if you're doing it in the back of your truck, you're going to do it by hand. The worst thing that could happen to you. Count them. If you have a software, minimum Excel sheet, it will do the calculation for you. Most of the electrical contractors, guys, have a software, estimating software, that the minute that you take off all these equipment, you put them in a software, you without even hitting a button, it will add them at the bottom. It gives you a detailed addition of every single component in your system. Does that make sense? So done by computer if you have a software. If you're doing it by hand, good luck. You have to add them. Pricing and laboring. A pricing is, what's a pricing? Adding a price to the equipment. So I have a receptacle. Take this. I have 100 receptacles like this one. I will price them. I'm going to add $1.50 for each one of them. That's what pricing is, right? Pricing each one of them. Pricing and laboring. Now laboring, unlike delivering babies, this is not delivering babies here. Laboring is assigning an hour to install a receptacle. How many hours do you need to install a receptacle? Well, I can install it in 0.1 of an hour. We go by hours, but not seconds. Always in an hour. 0.1 of an hour, which is what? 1/10 of an hour to install a receptacle. That means including a lot of things. Rough end, putting it together, carrying it from where it should be, and we talk about that unit, how they assign the labor guys. But laboring is assigning a dollar, pricing assigning a dollar value to the component, laboring assign an hour to the component. Does that make sense?
Well, it's semantics, but it's really cost.
Cost.
Cost and price.
There's two costs though, cost of labor, cost of labor and cost of material. So pricing is adding, cost of material, giving a dollar value to your material. Labor is giving an hour value to your material. No dollars yet for the labor. Any question guys about this? A light like this, pricing it, it's going to be $100. Laboring it, it's going to be 0.5 of an hour. So if I have 100 of them, what do? Multiply this by 100, with the 0.5 by 100, and multiply the 100 by 100 to get you the labor. So at the bottom line, the pricing and laboring, you're going to get a price for the material and a labor for the same material. If you have a software, look how beautiful that is. All done, all this stuff, guys, if you have a software, it's all done for you. As you put them in, it assigns Nika. Where's that? You should show me Nika. Nika give you the labor. A lot of labor stuff on that one. Do they have the price too? I think they have pricing. I think it's labor only.
It's all labor.
Labor only. Yeah. To get the library for material, you guys have the softwares that we use have contract with vendors, and they updating the labor for the pricing for you regularly. We'll talk about this as we go. This will get you the labor. For Nika is for IBW electricians. If you're non-IBW, it's going to be different. Extending and totaling, this is doing the math, guys. Doing really as easy as here's a receptacle. I have 5 of them, and each one of them is going to be $3. This is price. Labor. Look at the labor. I have 5 receptacles. Each one of them is 0.1 hour. And then I have a switch. I have 10 switches. Each one of these 10 switches is going to be $2. and for the 10 switches labor, I want to install them in 0.2 hours. So adding these together, that's what we call it extending and totaling. So if you do this one, extending this one will be 0.5 hour. Extending this one will be 2, right? 2 hour. Extending this one here will be $10. Extending this one will be what is that? 2 times $20. And then totaling these will be $30 here, right? And totaling these will be 2.5 hours. That's what extending and totaling is. Does that make sense? What does that make sense? This is the number of the equipment. This is all the number of the equipment. This is the price per equipment, and this is the hour per equipment, per device. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? The big word. Now, if you have a computer, guess what? All this good stuff will be done for you. All this good stuff will be completely done for you. Completely done. There's examples, guys, about this one. If you want to be a project manager, an estimator, these 6 chapters that we go through, guys, are essential. Essential. Any question about pricing and laboring? Doing math. If you have a software, guess what? If you have a software, what happened to all this stuff that you do here? If you have a computer, or if you are like my friend Chris here, good with Excel, you can make the softwares. You really don't have to be even good with Excel to make this type of calculation. Any question? Extending and totaling, adding things up, adding things up. Any question, my friends, before we go to one more step, and we're estimating. One more step. Can I move? No? Please. Okay. So, next one. Okay, here we go. Okay, estimate summary. Estimate summary, guys, you're going to summarize everything that you have done up to this point. You're going to summarize all that, like I did. All the labor and all the materials going to be summarized. Add them all up. Add them all up. And now you're done with estimating. We're done with estimating with the estimate summary. Come on, bud. My computer saying it's Friday, Chad. Is that? I'm almost done here. Okay, extending and totaling. Estimate summary.
I'm not that
Okay, applying profit and cost. Now, the first 6 are estimating. Now we're done. That's the cost of the price. What are you going to do next? You're going to add the profit. I'm not going to tell you what the profit is, right? How much you're going to make money to go to Hawaii, you and your girlfriend or your wife and significant others and all this good stuff. Adding the profit. Now we're getting the 7. We're getting into the bidding. This is a bidding. Adding profit, and at the same time they keep adding other costs. If there's other unanticipated costs at the end, you keep adding it. But really the major part is adding the profit. Okay, now we're going to get into the bidding process. Okay, adding the profit, and now we added the profit. We have a bid price. Now we have a bid price. We came up with $2 million for this job. Don't you think we have to have a smart guy or gal to look at our estimate now? So what do you need to do? Bid accuracy and analysis. You need to do a bid accuracy and analysis. We'll look at the methods of doing bid accuracy analysis. One method, guys, is a square foot value. Another method is the percentage of your labor from the overall cost of the project, or the material from the overall cost of the project. These percentages very, very powerful. Give you indicators. Any question, guys, about the bid accuracy? Bid accuracy. And the last one, thank you. The last one, we're done. We are accurate, we're cool, we're going to get the job. So what do you need to do? Put that one in a bid proposal and send it to Chris, who is the owner and the developer or the engineer. So this says my bid price is going to be $2 million and I can go to grave with it. It's accurate, it's checked, everything's good, right? Done. Bid proposal. After we did check the accuracy, put the overhead, check the accuracy, submit it in a piece of paper. You guys are going to look at the proposal later on as we move on, and a nice proposal with your title as a company, sign it as a project manager. That will become, is that what they call a binding legal document when it's accepted by others, and pulling out of it, there's some consequences, financial and legal consequences if it's accepted by the others and you pull out of it. That it moves you into contracting after that. Now you broke a contract, and minimum you can lose money. Minimum you can lose your bond.
Key on that is what you're not including.
Thank you. And the bid proposal, guys, the bid proposal include the price and what you need to do for the customer and what you are not anticipated that you're going to be doing. Especially if the customer expects you to do it. So very, very important is you have to list things that you're going to be doing and the things that typically you do, but the customer does not want you to do it. So you write it down. Good point. And what's included, what's not included, and what's included. Any question, guys, about these 9 estimating and bidding process steps? You can make them 6 if you want to by mixing a few of them, but these are the ones that later on, Oladipo, from now until you graduate with Chad, as we start taking off the project, that these are the steps in the back of your mind. You're going to be using them over and over, the 9. Shall we repeat them one more time? Just for you guys. Understand the scope of work, take off, determine the bill of material, pricing and laboring, extending and totaling, estimate summary, profit, bid accuracy, and bid proposal. All of them are in page 20. Page 20. This is William guaranteed on the test. these 9 guaranteed. You know, from now when we test you on the final on that one, on these 9, what are they and what they mean? From now on, guaranteed they will be. What are they and what they mean? And so if you don't want to be a project manager knowing them, you're going to know them for your friend Chad, just for the test. How accurate can a job be? There's a couple of things, guys. Expenses can be anticipated in advance, blah, blah, blah. The accuracy, there's some errors in your bid. If you can have certain amount of accuracy. What they're telling you for the price, for the material, I promise to stop at 11. So if you guys, no matter what, they will tell you the material is predictable. You know, it's really good. You can predict it up to 5% plus or minus. The labor is different. The labor is kind of go up and down depending, because you're dealing with a human being. Now, what happens if you have a job that you have never done before? What do you do if you have a job that you've never done before and you need to bid on it? Suggestion here, and it makes sense. You can call somebody who've done it if you know somebody, but if you can't, break it down into little steps that you know. Add all these little steps and take off these little steps, add them up, and that hopefully will give you a better understanding of that particular task. So breaking down the complicated process into a smaller process, estimating the smaller processes, add them up, hopefully will give you a better understanding or a better outcome. Okay. As we said, the material is the most predictable. You can get it within percentages, few percentages, 3, 4, 5%. What's the predictability is the labor. Look at the labor. So material is within few percentages, 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. Now labor is the problem. Labor is suggestion. Again, you can agree or disagree with this. If it's new construction, you can predict your labor within 10 plus or minus 10%. You know, that's okay within plus or minus 10%. Or if remodeling is more. Why? Because you're busting walls. You don't know what's behind these walls as you remodel. So 20%. So few percentages for material, 10% give or take for labor construction, remodeling 20%. That's how accurate your system is. So when I say $2 million, 2 million, $2 million here, I'm really talking about plus or minus 10%. If your margin of error when you bid should cover things like this, you can shorten the margin of error a little bit and make it 5 plus or minus 5, but that's okay within that range for your project. Especially if this is the 2 million, say this was the 2 million for labor and 1 million for material, then your material will be plus or minus say 3% for your material. Your overall project would be say 3 million labor and material, and you can do so your overall project, if you add the two together, that will be plus or minus 13% kinda labor and material, give or take. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Okay. Accurate estimate, computer or estimating service. These are the methods that we use. There are three primary methods of estimating. Now, these are methods, guys, that you can use in your company. Manual method, you sit in your truck and do it. No, you don't do that for anything more than $5,000. You shouldn't do that, right? Second one is computer assisted. You do a software like McCormick or any other software, guys, to use it. That's a proper way. So this is where you're going to be. Now we know what this is, guys, right? That's having a software, not Excel. An estimating software. What's estimating service? Anybody know what an estimating service is? Estimating service is instead of you at Hunt Electric doing the estimating, you hire a third party to do the estimating for you. Hiring a third party to do the estimating for you. Why would you do something like this? If I'm bidding on the gas stations or aircraft hangars, and I've never done an aircraft hangar or gas station class 1, div 1 and 2 location, and I know another third party somewhere in Florida provide this service for you for a fee, of course, it's a good idea to get the bid from them, so when you go do it, you're closer to the truth and you're not going to go down the drain, right? You and your company. Function, thank you. Another very good example. What if you're busy? Your estimators are busy, but your electricians are not. Electrician, because you can pull from IBW as many as almost unlimited. Well, almost. So if you want to get the job and IBW is there, you can pull from them. Especially now, there's a lot of resources, so you can get the bid done by a third party, pull electricians, and start a project manager and start working. Good point. Okay, so three methods. Manual method. Now it talks about disadvantage and advantages. We talked about disadvantage, guys. Are you kidding me? You're going to do $1 million in the manually? So it's a lot of mistakes, not accurate. Cost to complete the estimate is bad. Errors in the math. Lack of project management information. You can't slice it as much as you want to if you have that method. Inability to respond to changes. Last minute, they told you the switch gear price changed. Go do your math. That will erase and add. You're doing it by hand. Not a good idea. Okay, time to complete it takes forever. So if you're a small contractor sitting in your back of your truck, who cares? Because either you spend the time in the bar, or you can spend in your truck, right? Is that judgment? Kinda? A little bit judgmental. Okay, computer assisted, guys. Advantages, competitive advantages is for these as here's the deal. They're going to be fast, accurate. Changes are easily accommodated. Improved project management, tons of info so you can feed into the project. Improved bid accuracy, no problem. You're going to see, guys, when I show you the example, you can have tons of information out of these softwares for project management and tracking and bid accuracy. And reduce estimate time, of course, because everything is done. And reduce management cost, overhead, no paper. The last one, guys, is estimating service that we talked. Low upfront cost, nobody's working on it because you farm it out. Knowledge of the bid. This is really the reason why you go for estimating service. You really have no idea how to do it, or you don't have time to do it. And then each method has its own advantage and disadvantage, as I said. Okay. So that's basically it. I'm going to list the stuff that we did. So Any question guys about the advantages? So we know that the computerized method is the best method of estimating. Okay, the first thing, what did we learn with your friend Chad? Hopefully, not learn this common sense, guys. A lot of stuff you probably could have wrote these, put them together. Qualities of good estimators. Go home if you're going to be an estimator. Check yourself based on what Chad said. Add them all up, 70% or higher average. You're a good estimator for hospitals. Otherwise, you might just keep doing residential and move on. Duties and responsibility of estimators: managing the project, buying the cost and cost of the material. Properly set up the estimating workspace and the tools that you need. Remember that. Different type of estimating methods, and how accurate your estimate can be, and how accurate an estimate can be, and advantages and disadvantages of the method of estimating. Any question? I left even 5 minutes earlier, for Pete's sake. Any question, guys? These chapters are so simple, down to earth. Everything that I went through, guys, is in the book. If you're going to be a project manager and estimator, it take you, when we bring Parson here, they say, guys, it will take 6 years to create a really good estimator of working solid with a good, solid estimator. And we're not talking about $10,000. We're talking about millions of dollars. So it takes time, guys. Most of us want to jump to the top so fast. Take your time, understand things, but you are, if you follow, if these traits you have them, you're raw material for a great project estimator, I think. Phil, is that good enough? Any question, guys? Any question? 4 more chapters to go. As we go through these chapters, guys, guess what? We're going to be taking one of these 9 steps and digesting it more and more and more. That's it. What we're going to be covering in the forthcoming chapters is exactly what I covered today, a little bit more details with an example. Please read these chapters for your friend Chad. That's it. Go eat. And the homework, of course, guys, please do, all of you do the homework, because the assignments will be, the test is going to be from them. I have the answers for them, so when you're done with them, you get the answers too. Thank you.
What play do you see with consulting firms in this market doing the bidding?